Are you a content creator who's interested in finding distribution partners or working with influencers? Or perhaps you're just deeply interested in Faces of X and wanting to go behind the curtain on the challenges of creating it. Well, that is briefly what we're going to do right now. We're going to go behind the curtain on the challenges of producing Faces of X, my new video series that integrates different perspectives on culture war issues. And along the way, we're going to learn about the challenges of finding distribution and working with influencers. So with that, what were the 3 hardest parts of producing Faces of X? Well, number 1, the first one was, drumroll please, finding distribution. Right? Distribution for what we might call post-tribal content is naturally challenging because so many media outlets are already associated with one tribe or another. But even outlets that profess a commitment to nuance and bridge building revealed themselves to be more interested in both sidesism, right, and pretending that both sides are equally relevant and valuable, than in actual synthesis, than in just synthesizing the insights no matter where they come from. I am going to name names here. Outlets like the New York Times and TED loved the idea of Faces of X, but were uncomfortable with the fact that the synthesis landed somewhere other than the precise center, right? But the center lets itself be defined by the extremes, whereas synthesis lets itself be defined by the sheer complexity and truth of the issue. Anyway, I didn't lock a distribution partner for Faces of X, which is why it was released independently on Substack, YouTube, X, etc., although it is slated to be featured on Substack's homepage the week of September 23rd. So, cheers for indie distribution. Number 2, what was the second hardest part of producing Faces of X? It was finding the right influencers to be the stars. Right? The people I chose are not neutral. No one is neutral. Right? The second you have an experience and you have a perspective, you are no longer neutral. So neutrality was not the goal. The goal was people who are independent thinkers, right? People who are not politically pigeonholed. People who are what I call synthesis voices, which is hard to be in a media environment that forces you to pick a side, right? Red or blue, woke or anti-woke. The people I went with are not paid actors, so the draft scripts were a perfect filter for the kind of mind I was looking for. The people I ultimately went with were Liv Bory for Faces of Capitalism, Buck Angel for Faces of Gender, Magatte Wade for Faces of Race, and for Faces of Abortion, the star couldn't make it at the last minute, so I pinch hit. Now, we can have all kinds of criticisms of the stars and whether they're really synthesis voices, and I knew I would especially get a lot of heat for Buck Angel, but the fact that these influencers were willing to work with these scripts unpaid is, I think, a testament to their commitment to synthesis. Finally, the third hardest part of producing Faces of X was condensing the synthesis sections so that I could keep the videos at 5 minutes or less. Now, of course, we got to kill our darlings, but synthesis was the payload here, and I just cringed at having to cut those beautiful points of integration. Just to give you an example of something I had to cut, Buck Angel will always regret tattooing himself with the female symbol on his wrist when he was 17. Okay, the female symbol. He ended up having to cover it up with a Playboy tattoo. But the point is, there is probably an age below which young people should not be making irreversible or largely irreversible changes to their bodies, right? So anyways, I put these gems like that one that were left on the cutting room floor on the project website. You can go to facesofx.org/t/current-videos. I'll put the link in the description. You can click on a video and scroll down to cutting room floor. I'm also considering writing a series of essays that articulate a fuller synthesis perspective on capitalism, abortion, gender, and race, right? That include the things that had to be left on the cutting room floor. So if you'd want to read those fuller synthesis essays, please let me know in the comments. So those were the 3 hardest parts of producing Faces of X. I hope you learned something about distribution, working with influencers, cutting your darlings. You can watch Faces of X at facesofx.org. And for content that makes Thanksgiving fun again, subscribe here.